Brooklyn Independent Television.
Joining me in the studio, you see him around from time to time. He's in, maybe about 4 times a year, right? 4 or 5 times a year? We have you on, right? All right, good. Elio Velez, Daily News. Welcome, Elio.
Here we go again. Thanks,
Hey,
man.
Elio,
Good to see you, man.
love for you, man. You know that.
Of course it's always love, man.
Right? I
Thanks,
guess with
man.
love like that, who needs hate, right? Okay.
Funny.
Let's move on. Let's talk about girls basketball. We're going to talk about girls basketball, boys basketball, also what's going on in the spring. But let's tip it off the show with girls basketball. Murray Bertram won it again, 13 years straight. South Shore was in it, though.
Yeah, South Shore went to the finals. They had as good a shot as any. They had a great year. But Bertram always finds a way in the big games to pull it out. Was it an ugly win? Sure it was. But Bertram knows how to win ugly, and they always find a way. Ed Grzinski, the coach, has done a great job this year, especially. And the team that wasn't as talented as he had. There's no Epiphany Princes. There's no D1 players for sure. He had to grind it out every game to get a win, but Bertram always finds a way to do it. They did it where they usually do their best. This is the Madison Square Garden, like their second home. And, they found a way to stop Jasmine Odom, South Shore's best player. They just know how to find ways to win.
And this is a team that's basically a national powerhouse when it comes to girls basketball.
Absolutely. But, Bertram this year was a little bit different. As I said, they didn't.
Did it come down to the coaching also? Coaching was key.
Ed Grzinski did a great job coaching a team that it's not the sum of the parts. They were still undefeated in PSAL, but it's a collection of talent that he put together. He did great job coaching. Found a way to get the defensive stops. Found a way to get the big baskets. Corey Coleman, Shaquana Harris, Ashley Gomez. They found ways to make big baskets when they need to, and Grzinski did a great job coaching this year. South
Shore, though.
South Shore, Anwar Gladden has done a great job taking that program, as one of the perennial contenders in this league. He's got, he had great talent, Phoenicia Price, Jasmine Odom. He had a collection of talent, and, I believe that they were going to get to the finals, but to get to the finals is always tough when you got JFK and those teams, always fighting to get to the Garden. But Anwar Gladden has done a great job, and there's no doubt in the next few years Anwar Gladden will still do it.
So you believe they'll be back?
I believe they will be back. If not next, they'll be back in the next few years. And I think Anwar Gladden is just feeling like he's very pumped. He wants to get a city title, and he was there and he lost a couple of times now. So I think he wants to get back there again.
What about Bertram?
Bertram is funny. We said a lot of people thought last year when they had won for the 12th time that they weren't sure whether they were going to get to the 13th time. So if you count out Bertram from not getting to the Garden again, then you know what? You're not really looking at what they've done, what they've accomplished. They'll have Tayshana Chicken Murphy back. She was a great player, went to Bishop Loughlin. She got hurt. She's going to be a senior next year. She'll be healthy. They're going to have Shaquana Harris is going to be back. So they got enough talent coming back next year. There's always another piece or two to add, and Bertram will still be there.
In terms of coaching, do you believe Grzinski will get any looks, or is he looking to leave at all at this point?
No, I don't
Pretty much satisfied?
No, he's done a fantastic job. He's gained national recognition and building a powerhouse every year. He sent girls to D1, D2 programs every year, and you know what? He's done the best job. I mean, he had a football coaching background. He helped Lincoln.
He was at Sheepshead Bay also.
He's looking at Sheepshead Bay. Lincoln, he was the defensive coordinator. They won the city championship back in '93, I believe. But he's done a great job with that program, and he's found a way to keep winning every year.
Okay, the Catholic side is Nazareth, who also had some controversy with their coach.
Apache Pascal,
who's caught some sort of illness. He was sick for a minute there.
It's been a very crazy year for Nazareth. Apache Pascal was the coach at St. Michael's Academy. He was a powerhouse in Manhattan. But as the school closed down last June, they basically set up shop at Nazareth, who did not have a girls program. But there was a lot of trouble that happened in between. There was problems of, in terms of recruiting. There was recruiting issues. We did a story about Apache and his first days there, and there was allegations of recruiting that he took some kids that he shouldn't have done. There was investigation. He was cleared. He also had troubles with his heart. He had congestive heart failure, and the team had a lot of trouble. It was a very
in terms of recruiting, we got to talk about that because that has really become a big issue when we come back as far as Hills and in terms of baseball too. But when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation. We're going to talk boys basketball, baseball, and softball right after this. And in case you're just joining me, I'm continuing my conversation with Elio Velez of the Daily News. Elio, we were discussing basketball, as far as girls basketball in a previous conversation. It has become really big, not only here in New York City or New York State, but throughout the country. But in terms of recruiting at Nazareth, there was a big issue there.
There was an allegations that they had recruited players that they weren't supposed to, and recruiting is such a gray area in this city. We've had, not just in basketball, we've had it in baseball and other sports, is what coaches can do to bring a student athlete, what we should call them student athletes,
Right.
into a building. Can they promise them certain things?
Cars, houses.
I mean, not as much as college football has done. In
But
basketball
high school
now.
is becoming a
But
big
high school
business,
is
though.
it's a big business, absolutely. Nazareth, they won their state Catholic championship. They beat Christ the King. They beat Bertram upstate. I mean, Nazareth has become a national power. Yeah. So with that, there's always the allegations now that is Nazareth getting players illegally.
And the more you win, the more
scrutiny you get.
Now, why isn't Brzezinski getting the same scrutiny?
Well, I don't think. Well, there was actually a few years, when he won so many. There was maybe even the questions too of how did he bring certain kids into that place, and so a lot of these coaches. I mean, Christ the King heard that for many years when they were winning back in the 90s and the early decades. Did they get girls from Long Island? How did they get? So every big program hears certain things about allegations and rumors. And sometimes it might dog, sometimes it doesn't. For Apache and Nazareth, they were clear of the allegations, so they're going to stay around for a while. But you're going to hear that. It's going to dog them for maybe a little bit more,
Okay. And also at Forest Hills, also high school boys team, they also had a recruiting violation also.
Right. Ben Chopperhand was basically suspended from his job. He was charged with allegations of recruiting a player from Francis Lewis High School, and he was suspended before the playoffs. So right now he's now without a job for a year. And also at the same time, Steve Mandel, the baseball coach at George Washington, who had Manny Ramirez into the major leagues and a great powerhouse up there in Washington Heights.
So these are allegations from the PSAL, of course.
Well, it's all allegations from certain coaches, certain players about
and
recruiting.
And the PSAL basically brings it to light.
Well, the PSAL, helps in the investigation, but also the DOE. The DOE, Department of Education, has a separate wing in the investigation. They found that these two coaches were guilty of recruiting.
All right, let's move on to boys basketball, where, of course, boys and girls won it. They defeated Lincoln. And boys and girls won it 2 years straight. They went to the state. Unfortunately, they lost. They've also had some real problems with players not making the grade in the classroom and were basically failed off the team.
It's a talented ball club. We know that, but they had problems in the classroom. They had Mike Taylor, who's going to Rutgers. He was suspended. But he was academically ineligible for almost a month going before the playoffs and not until the semifinals because he didn't do well his first period class. Antoine Slaughter during the regular season had missed 6 games because of. So there was a lot of problems with grades and academics.
But this wasn't the coach's call.
This wasn't the coach's call. This was Principal Bernard Gasaway's.
Right.
He looked at their grades and they weren't passing.
No, he's basically, I think, the first principal I heard of that has really, I don't know, maybe in recent years anyway.
I mean, look, Bernard Gasaway is a good principal.
Right.
I've heard of him at Beach Channel. He did a good job over there in Queens. But it's a school that's also in trouble of being closed. It's one of 23 schools that's being investigated.
They might be charted off.
They might be closed down. Mm-hmm. And when you're trying to make sure that everybody's passing and everybody's doing well, you really have to look and see. Even if it's the basketball team, even if it's so
you have to make an example.
Not the example. You have to create. Well, it's true. You have to create an example, but. If the student athlete is failing, but also just the regular students failing, you have to treat them equally. But they found a way. That's what boys and girls does. Found a way to win a championship.
And they won. They defeated Lincoln.
Absolutely,
right?
They beat them. They lost twice to Lincoln in the regular season.
Now Lincoln also lost to during the season. They lost to Midwood, right?
They lost to South Shore.
South Shore,
another good-looking team.
Right.
Next year we will talk a lot about South Shore. Lincoln got to this championship. Shaquille Stokes, Isaiah Whitehead, the great freshman who's going to be a stud next year if he isn't already, got to the championship, but they lost the boys and girls. It was the first time boys and girls was full the whole entire year. No academic problems, no whatever. And then so they won the championship. Then what happened? About a few days later, boys and girls lost 5 players to academic ineligibility, and they lost upstate in the semifinals to Mount
But
Vernon.
you got to commend the commend the principal on that, because the
yeah,
principal, he could either turn to
Oh no! Look,
turn his head.
if you're not passing your classes, then you know what, you can't play.
Right.
That's bottom line.
We'll come back and we're going to continue our conversation about basketball, right? Baseball, softball also, right after this. Elio, as far as last segment we were discussing, as far as boys basketball, we had several teams out there. Also had Jefferson, who played well.
Jefferson played well. They got to the quarters.
Right.
It was a coming up and down year for Bud Pollard. So it was Devontae Grace is going to Manhattan. So
Transit Tech did not perform well
but they
at all.
lost a lot of players. But Transit Tech is one of those teams, that is always battle tested. South Shore was, we talked about it in the last segment, a great looking young team. They get to the quarters. They almost beat boys and girls. They were just a few points away. That's the team we're going to be talking about. Shamik Shepard. We're going to talk about we're talking about 2 or 3 D1 players, and they were all like sophomores, and they got a nice young freshman class. So that's a team we talking about as a top 5 team next year for sure.
South Shore.
And a contender, absolutely. They're doing, they did a great job this year, and they're going to be definitely a top flight next year too.
As far as Lincoln High School, they should be one of the top teams
Absolutely,
next year.
they will be.
They have a lot of players returning.
The opposites return, but there's also players who are leaving. Kamari Murphy and Shaquille Stokes would definitely be missed. They were definitely a big outside-inside duo. But Isaiah Whitehead is definitely
He's the future.
He's the future. And this year, he showed poise. And on that court, he's not. It's almost like he was a senior playing as a freshman.
And he's in the line of most of the great high school players that have come out of Lincoln.
Absolutely.
As far as Sebastian, also Lance.
Yeah, and you know what? He's a team first, pass first, point guard who wants to get his players involved in the game. But he also can score, and he's only a freshman, which is, and he's 6'1", 6'2", so he's got good point guard size. He'll get bigger, he'll get stronger, and I think he's getting ready to.
Any surprises this year?
In terms of boys basketball, not really. I think maybe I was surprised a little at the Catholic League. Christ the King won the championship, of course, being Rice, but that it was very a lot of parity. There wasn't one team who was better than the other, except for
Also, after what has occurred at boys and girls, do you believe that academics will be a main thing next year, going into the football season and also basketball season? Because you've heard stories, just like I've heard stories, that there are players out there playing that have a 65.3 average. I heard of one player in one particular borough who has played for 4 years and has a 60 average.
I think academics.
He's played basketball, matter of fact.
Right. Well, academics.
For 4 years.
For 4 years.
For 4 years.
Well, academics is going to play a big part because.
And they allowed him to play.
Well, the Department of Education is closing down schools that are not performing well, and it doesn't matter if they have the greatest reputation or this is a 1-year school. You know what I mean? They're looking to shut down programs that are not doing academically well, and principals are on the firing line. And we talk about boys and girls. He's looking to get a school up in academics, to keep it open for the community, and it doesn't have to be shut down and that big process. So it's going to play a part.
Okay, let's move on to the Diamond, where softball. Madison High School won the softball championship last year for the first time in about 6 years. Right?
Yeah, about 6-7 years. I mean, usually it's Tottenville every year. Actually, the last team to have beaten Tottenville was Midwood, but after that, it's Tottenville all the way. But Madison won in extra innings last year. Kayla Hill pitched all the way. It was a fantastic extra inning win for Madison. But they lost a lot of players from last year, about 5 starters. But they're still the top 1 or top 2 teams in the
Baseball, how's it look for Madison this year?
Madison lost a lot of players also, but they're going to be in the top 5. They have Grand Street now in the division. Used to be Madison was the big dog in Brooklyn, but now Grand Street comes from the Queens division to the Brooklyn division, and they got a great player named Williams Jerez.
I heard he may go in the first round.
May go 1 to 7 rounds. I mean, which would be great for a New York City kid to be drafted in the major leagues.
And the last kid that went there was Dylan Betances.
Dylan Betances, who's a great prospect for the Yankees. You might see him maybe later this year or early next year. But Williams Jerez is a top 5-tool prospect outfielder. You could see him be drafted.
And when we look at as far as lacrosse also?
Midwood, absolutely. New coach Andrew Shipman took it over for John Murphy. They're looking to win a championship after 2 years after Columbus and Newdorp beat them in the title championships. You're looking to see that.
And
Midwood on the girls too. Midwood girls lacrosse look very good as well.
All right, real quick, as far as my last question, most valuable player, most valuable coach this year as far as basketball concerned?
Ooh, there's a lot.
Boys and girls?
Boys and girls. Well, Patrick Pascal and Ed Grzinski are definitely top two. And the boys, Ruth Lovelace, a fantastic job. And Joe Arbitello for Christ the King, 2 years in a row to the
All right, but since Tiny lost the championship, maybe he should be declared head coach.
That's your opinion.
I'm just saying,
That's
right?
your
Because that's the way it's gone.
We can't
several years
Ruth
before,
Lovelace.
right?
Well, yeah.
No, I can't discount Ruth Lovelace.
Absolutely.
But I'm just saying, the years that Tiny won, he was never named coach. But hey, that's another story.
Of course.
We are out of time, folks, and of course, always love having you on here, Elio.
Thank you, man. It's all good.
Watch this and other Brooklyn Independent Television episodes online at brickartsmedia.org/BIT.